Let me show you how to make the simplest chord progression sound like $1,000,000. I'm going to show you how to just dress it up a little bit, and you'll be able to use this stuff right away. I'm going to put it to use on a tune that I'm sure you've heard a million times, and I'm going to show you how I'm using it in real time right now on tour. Here we go. Hey everybody, Shane Terrio back at you. Thanks for tuning in. What's happening? Where am I? I'm in a hotel room. I'm in Birmingham, England. I've been in the UK for about a week now, and I'm touring with Daryl Hall and Glenn Tilbrook from Squeeze, playing with both those guys, backing both of them up, doing double duty, having a blast. It's been a lot of fun. So thanks for tuning in. I'm going to talk about embellishing chords. Before I do, I'd like to think my little humble channel I started maybe 6 months ago, really seriously posting. I'd like to think that I don't just practice what I preach, I make a living from what I teach. And so these little moves are something I used. Last night I was on stage at the Royal Albert Hall in London and playing this very song, Sarah Smile, if you hadn't figured it out. And I was using some of these little moves to back up Daryl where it breaks down. There's a little breakdown part. And you can see some of the moves in action. Now for the intro, I was kind of showing off, playing a lot. But in a real world situation, you don't need that much. Let me take a second before I get into the nuts and bolts of it. And you can see it in action for real. Here we go. All right, so let's break down the chords. Now, Sarah Smile, it's become a karaoke favorite. It's almost the Mustang Sally of the jam night, unfortunately. But the way Daryl plays it, he does a lot of different substitutions sometimes. Sometimes it's just straight up. But let me show you just the basic chords for what we're going to work with today as a template. D minor 7, A minor 7, G minor 7. So briefly, if you don't know the minor 7 chords, here we go. A minor 7 with the root on the 5th string, and learn your root notes. So I'm barring the 5th fret with my first finger, all right? That would be D, G, C, E, A. And then I'm using my middle finger to play the F, 6th fret, 2nd string. That's the minor 3rd. Helpful to know this stuff. Using my ring finger to play the 5th. That's the 7th fret, 4th string. D minor 7. To play the minor 7 with the root on the 6th string, the A minor 7, you just bar the 6th, all the 6 strings at the 5th fret. And then I'm using my ring finger to play the E, the 5th, 7th fret, 5th string. There's other ways to voice this. You could do that. It's more of a jazz comping. I'm going to use this today because you're going to see why in a sec. It just frees up our fingers to do some little fancy moves. And then you should know that's an A. So if we need a G minor 7, you just move it down here. D, A, G. That's really the basic. and there's, Daryl plays it differently, and sometimes he'll sub different chords in there. But all right, so you have the basic idea. Now, what can we do to dress up these chords? I mean, there's nothing wrong with this, but say you want to put some little fancy things in there, right? One thing you can do, a good place to start, is just mess with the third, which would be your middle finger. If we lift this finger off and keep it sustaining, I'm using one downstroke, and kind of pull off my middle finger. That is, what you're doing is you're manipulating the minor 9. The 9, it's a sweet note. So if you practice just doing a brush stroke down, end on that second string, pull off, hammer on with my middle finger. You're doing this, but you have the whole chord going. That's a good one to start with. You could also, when you get that down, try both fingers of the chord. You know, the old, that kind of thing. But it's a little different here because you want to, there's not as much strum involved. You want to think of it as a sustain pedal on a piano. You want to keep that bar as your sustain. You want to keep those notes ringing. So you could do something like this. Just visualize the chord, these two fingers, and try pulling off, hammer on. Pick, hammer, pull off. Pick, hammer, pull off. Pick, hammer, pull off. I'm just going down these notes. Aaron Neville used to tell me, he used to call those the curlies. Shane, play some curlies on this, you know. It's Curtis Mayfield, Jimi Hendrix, a lot of guys did that stuff. Another move you can do, like the gospel guys are doing this stuff. I went over this in another video, but you basically brush the whole chord and you hammer on with your pinky on the 8th fret, 2nd string. So hammer and then pick the A, which is 5th fret, 1st string. There's variations, you could use that note. So all we're doing is working within the chord. Now, all you really need is just a little spice of this stuff, because it really, you know, you don't want to overdo it when you're working with a singer. If you're sitting at home, bang away, have fun, you know. And then when we get to this chord, this A minor, there's things you could do. Again, with your pinky, that's a sus, that makes it a sus. I'm hammering on the 7th fret, 3rd string. Now that, I did that in the intro, that's a C11 voicing, or a B flat over a C bass. See my video on slash chords for more reference. But passing chord, just move it up a half step. So in the form, now sometimes play it more straight like that. That's just a C major. That's an A with a C sharp in the bass, or you could play a dominant 7th chord on the 5 chord. So this is your 1 chord, D. We're in the key of D. 5 minor, A minor, 4, and make that chord a A7. You see how it pulls your ear. So in context, you know, you can Now all I did was I moved up to this position. You already know these chords. D minor, if you know your root notes. That's why I tell you to learn the notes. D minor, A minor, G minor. And you can do little moves, the same ones here. They're basic, but they always work and they always sound good. And don't forget your right hand. You have that mute, which is a huge, very important tonal tool you have, right? The palm of your hand is like it's like the sustain pedal on a piano. See? All I'm doing is adding a little bit of the pad of my right hand. It's really powerful stuff. You don't need a lot of stuff. You know, you don't need a lot of pedals and things to get great sounds if you have good hands. And I'm showing you kind of some inside moves. All right. Hey, I hope you got some stuff out of this. And it's a little, you know, guerrilla recording in here. It's a pain in the ass to do this in a hotel room, believe me. But I'll be back home soon. Give me a like, subscribe if you dug this. Help me to continue to build the channel. And thank you for tuning in. I'll see you soon. Terrio out.